Hey guys, this is Fizzy at the Procrastinator Files, and it has been 2 years now. Yep, it has. Well, I've finally filmed an update, which is what everyone's been asking for on my ADHD journey. Thank you for all the views on my previous videos, ones at 18k and others at 6k. I'm really happy to see that. But it's about time that I tell you guys what's going on. So let me literally jump right into that and tell you what's happened in my journey and what I'm taking now. So I'm currently taking Amfexa. It's also called DEXAMFETAMINE, dexamphetamine sulfate. And this I'm getting from Psychiatry UK, which is the free service which you can access online through Right to Choose. So you can ask your GP to refer you to them. I believe their waiting list is like 3 to 6 months long. A lot of people are getting in quicker than that. They're constantly updating their list of psychiatrists. And yeah, they just send you your medication straight through the mail. So you get your evaluation done or your diagnostic exam done with your psychiatrist, and then you get a titration nurse who helps you, figure out your dosages and choose medications with you based on your lifestyle. And it's a text-based service, so you log on through their portal, and then you can message your nurse or your psychiatrist and talk about what's going on in your life and what changes you need, and then they send it private, signed for mail, and it comes within 2 days, next day shipping. So it's not bad. So as you probably guessed, I don't take Elvanse/Vyvanse anymore, and the reason why is because I just got a whole host and myriad of awful side effects. In fact, it was my psychiatrist's decision to pull me off of the medication for a lot of health concerns. So my ADHD has kind of been mismanaged by like all of my care providers, from my psychiatrist to my GP and whatnot, especially because I got my diagnosis towards the beginning of the pandemic. It's been really hard for people with like mental health issues to access decent healthcare. I mean, it was already hard enough, but yeah, it got really bad. And so yeah, it went all wrong for me. I lost a whole bunch of weight, like a dangerous amount of weight. I went from a UK, I'd say size 10 to a UK size 4. So for reference, that would be a US size 0. I literally lost all of my shape as a woman. I was like, my teeth were really unhealthy. I wasn't eating anything. I was severely stressed. I wasn't sleeping. The insomnia was terrible. And I became severely malnourished to the point where my family doctor had to put me on intervention, like nutrients, and I had to see a dietitian twice, who prescribed me a diet of lots of butter and 5 jelly babies a day. Amongst like, a balanced diet and lots of calories and whatnot, telling me to eat more food. But yeah, she was very adamant that I eat more crisps, more chocolate and all of that stuff, which is fun for a lot of people, but I'm not really a fan of snacks. So yeah, that all happened, and I was pulled off my medication for about a month or two. This was in the middle of studies, which was quite hard. But yeah, now I'm taking Amfexa. Now Amfexa is an instant release or a short release drug. It's like it's very similar to Elvanse and Vyvanse. So whereas Elvanse and Vyvanse lasts 10 to 12 up to 14 hours, this only lasts about 4 to 6 hours, and it's an in like immediate release. So from maybe 5-10 minutes up to an hour, you'll immediately feel the effects, which is super helpful. Now, for my lifestyle changes, like when I was taking Elvanse, I was working very long shifts and I had a lot of stuff to do and cope with. So it lasting 14 hours was very useful for me. However, when I started going back into education and I only needed to be wired on for about 6-7 hours a day, just having no appetite to eat, like it was kind of polarizing, because I started at a new college to study like chemistry and whatnot to pursue my degree, and a lot of the people would notice that I never ate anything, and they was like getting a lot like, very worried about me. And I think it's when I started to notice that I was wearing clothes that are supposed to be like form-fitting bodycon dresses and like tight clothes, and they was literally like loose and baggy like a schmuck on me, that I got really concerned and spoke to my psychiatrist. Here, I would just like to note that I have a very muscular frame as a woman. I'm an athletic woman. The majority of the mass on my body is built from muscle. I don't really hold fat on my body, except occasionally if I'm really overeating around my midriff area. My thighs, my biceps, my bottom, even my calves, all of these things are very well formed through muscle almost entirely. I don't really hold a lot of fat like most women do. So the reason why I was concerned by this amount of weight loss was simply for the fact that I, when I lose weight, I lose my muscle mass. So that means I lose my strength. And it's a lot harder to build back muscle, especially by eating a lot of calories. That just builds a lot of fat. And because my body doesn't really hold on to fat, it made, keeping weight on very incredibly hard for me. So I had to end up going back to the gym and doing cardio because the cardio was helping me burn off the fat, but also tone up my muscles and get them used to, being active and not being so frail. I could barely do a sit up. I could barely touch my toes. Every time I'd stand up or bend over, my bones was creaking, my muscles was aching. And then I was able to slowly start incorporating a bit more strength training as well. Because another thing that happened is my heart was weakened by using Elvanse. So I appreciate just the fact that I've been able to recover most of my body mass through muscle rather than acquiring it through fat, because my body isn't used to carrying a lot of fat on it, and I'm just worried about how that would affect me disproportionately. As I said, because that's just not my body type. My body doesn't really carry a lot of fat on it. It's a very athletic frame, which is why my shoulders are like wider than my hips and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not really used to that. Kind of polarizing because I started at a new college to study like chemistry and whatnot to pursue my degree, and a lot of the people would notice that I never ate anything, and they was like getting a lot like, very worried about me. And I think it's when I started to notice that I was wearing clothes that are supposed to be like form-fitting bodycon dresses and like tight clothes, and they was literally like loose and baggy like a schmuck on me, that I got really concerned and spoke to my psychiatrist. So after my weight kind of stabilized and my metabolism, which I mean, as much as I was eating once I came off the medication, because once like they give you Elvanse to treat binge eating disorder as well. So once I came off the medication, I ate so much. It's like I was hungry for months and finally my body could eat. So I ate the food. But I wasn't gaining any weight. My metabolism was all out of whack, and it's like it was distributing all of these new calories and foods to my cells and not putting weight on my body that was noticeable or could be seen by any kind of scale. So that was stressful for me. But after about a month and a half, I was signed off to start trying medication again, but I'm on a much more closely regulated titration schedule, and I also have to fill out regular forms and questionnaires. I low-key feel like everyone's a little bit afraid I was going to sue them, but I don't have suing money. Do you know what I mean? So let's talk about this Amfexa. It's, instead of a capsule, which Elvanse was, this is a white pressed tablet. It actually is a four-leaf clover shape. In fact, I'm going to snap one out so I can show it to you. So this is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Let me see if I can hold it up against my hand. This is what it looks like. I will show you again. So that's like a 4-leaf clover, which you can, for children, you can press into it with your nail or like a knife, and it will break into 4 pieces, and it makes it easier to swallow or add to your yogurt or your milk or whatever you're drinking, water or whatever. And yeah, within, I'd say about, when I first started taking it, within 5 minutes, I kind of felt it kicking in. I'm not sure if that was placebo or what, but yeah, nowadays it takes more like, if I'm not doing anything, I'm just literally lying around, maybe about half an hour to 45 minutes. If I'm running around, then I feel its effects run a lot quicker. That's probably because my blood is, pumping a bit quicker around my body because I'm actually active, so it's helping it literally get around my system rather than just being in resting mode where your digestive system is resting and your heart is resting, if you understand what I mean. So literally it comes on, it wears me on, I feel its effects, but you see the dry mouth, that was killing me with Elvanse. I mean, dry mouth mixed with the bad breath from the dry mouth is much less severe. I actually can drink regular water. Now, I gained a little bit of a sparkling water addiction. I know, please don't hang me. I know everyone thinks sparkling water is the devil, unless you literally live in a European country in which you live on sparkling water because it's so tasty. But yeah, I get a lot of weird looks for my incessant need for sparkling water. And I used to hate it too, but people don't understand that my love for it came from sparkling water being the only drink I could drink without gagging when I was on Elvanse. So I can drink anything when I'm on my Amfexa, and I can eat as well. Before on the Elvanse, I'd have to force myself to eat, and I'd gag for the first couple bitefuls until my body realizes it can't prevent it. So it would finally let me eat. But with this, I can eat full meals. I'm not hungry, but I'm aware that I should eat, and I'm aware when my body is hungry, which is helpful. Because with the Elvanse or Vyvanse, I literally didn't feel hungry. Even if I knew my body should feel hungry, I didn't feel hungry. With this one, I don't need to eat, but I feel hungry. So that means I can tell my body to eat, and I will eat, and I won't get any of like the gagging or like any of that weird stuff. I literally will just eat food like an, normal person. So that's also very helpful. And it does help me with my studies. It helps me focus. It helps me complete my chores. I can also decide to just lie down on it and not do anything, which is something I found a bit impossible with Elvanse. If I was on my Elvanse, I had to be doing something, even if it was completely counterproductive or even potentially dangerous. I had to be doing it. But on this medication, I can just lay down. I can even take a nap whilst I'm on it, which is something I didn't even know you could do whilst on stimulants, but I can. So I feel like I can live a very normal life and take this repetitively. Another thing is with the dose that I'm on. So this is 10. Oh, I just dropped the tablet. But this is 10 milligrams. I'm not going to say micrograms like I did once upon a time. I feel like this is 10 milligrams, I hope. Yeah, I can't really see. It's just 10 mg, okay? Which is awesome for me. I started off on 5 and then they increased me to 10 because that was the dosage that was adjacent to my Elvanse. This is like the yes, this is the adjacent drug to Elvanse. So it's the short release, they would say the short release version of Elvanse. And it just works so much better for me. I can take it at any time during the day and most likely not be awake during the night. I do notice if I take it after 3, I will have trouble going to sleep. But the freedom of being able to take it at 5 and knowing that at least if I'm active, I can be in my bed and actually fall asleep by 10 is very helpful to me, because if I took my Elvanse at, let's say, 11 o'clock, by 11 p.m. in the night, it was still active in me and could be active up until 3 in the morning, which wasn't helpful. And I didn't always want to wake up at 5 in the morning to take it just so I could hope it would run out by the time it was, 8 p.m. So especially if I only needed to be, wired on for an hour, like anyone who has ADHD kind of knows that as much as it is helpful to be productive, it's not always the nicest feeling to be on medication, especially if you do have side effects. Another thing I'd like to say is I don't really get the heart palpitations as well. Which is quite nice. I really do quite enjoy that aspect of it all. And yeah, I don't get nausea. I don't really get the headaches. I will say, the need to pee is quite often with this. Obviously, if you haven't drunk anything, you're not going to really need to. But if there's literally any bit of fluid going through your digestive tract, you will need to weed that out within like the first hour you take it. And it also can make you like, go out the back door as well. But at the end of the day, it's much more manageable than Elvanse. The Elvanse, you kind of had to go to the toilet. With this Amfexa, you can just like not, if you're like in public or whatever, you just can't access the toilet. It's not like you're going to poop your pants, which is something I find very accessible for me, because I often do take it right when I'm either beginning a shift or going somewhere important. And I'm not always like, I don't really like to use public toilets, and I'd never, ever, ever poop in a public toilet. So, and thankfully, my body allows me to do that. I'm not judging anyone who does. I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable to. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that it doesn't give you diarrhea, even though it does give you the need to go to the toilet. So that's very nice. Genuinely, I really do like this medication. For me, if I'm being really active, it will last me for the full 6 hours. If I'm doing absolutely nothing, it will last me a little bit longer. Sometimes it has finished a little bit shorter, or maybe I just haven't noticed the effects, especially if I'm having an extra distractible day. But this is like a very friendly medication if you just want to be a casual like medication user of ADHD. For me personally, that I found with the Elvanse, you'd have to take it consistently before the side effects would die down, and then you run the chance of it just not working for you anymore if you do stop or take breaks. With this, I know that I can either take it for 4 weeks straight and I'll be fine, and yeah, the productivity will be a bit less as my body gets used to being on these medications, but it's not like it completely goes and I only get the negative side effects, which is something that was happening to me with Elvanse. With this, I know I can take continuously and be great, or I can take it once a month and be great, or I can just not take it at all and also be great. Because that's another thing, I've gotten a bit better at managing my ADHD symptoms without my medication just because I don't particularly like taking medication. Not that it does anything harmful to me, but I have ADHD. I often forget to take it, and I also have like just a bit of guilt from the stigma of taking medication and my personal beliefs around it and whatnot, which make it like it makes it hard for me to take my medication a lot of the time. So I often do hesitate to take it and avoid taking it, which is not always a good look because sometimes I generally do need it, and I'm not afraid to admit that I do need my medication. But at times, if I can do something without it, I will attempt and try my best. So that's great to know. Like, this is a really accessible medication for me, and I've been taking it for almost a year now. So the Elvanse I was taking on and off for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But the thing is, the reason I was on and off is because I couldn't always get access to it, especially because at the beginning I was private and I had to pay for it. And it was like £200 for the appointment and then £100 for the medication. Now I don't pay for my appointments or my medication, so it's much more accessible to get this. And because I don't take it so often, it lasts me a lot longer. Whereas the Elvanse I had to continuously take just to get through the trudge of the horrible cloudy feelings. Now, that's not to say that Elvanse is a bad drug by any means. I've seen lots of people on YouTube who it works for. Initially, when I started taking it, it worked for me. It's just the issue, it stopped working for me, so I had to get to much higher doses to actually get the good effects of it. And the high dosages of the Elvanse in the end was the things that was actually killing me. So by no means am I knocking Elvanse. I know that Elvanse, or Vyvanse in America, has literally like saved certain people's lives, and I'm really thankful for that. That really, really makes me happy. But it just didn't work for me in the end, and Amfexa is currently where it's at. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was clocking in with, and that's my update. And that is Fizzy at the Procrastinator Files, and I am out. Zoo.